What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about current news in Norway. Because as an American, I never get to see Norwegian news here in the United States from any of our news or media. So today I'd like to take some time to learn about the current news and events happening in Norway right now, starting with Russians in Norway protested election? Russians in Norway protested election. What election? And why are Russians protesting it? I know Norway has a very sort of conflicted, tense relationship with Russia right now, with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing going on. So there are actually Russians in Norway? And what election are they protesting? Hundreds of Russians living in Norway showed up in force at the Russian embassy in Oslo. Wow, there's hundreds of Russians living in Norway. So they showed up in Oslo. Is this like a protest or something? What exactly were they protesting? Noon on Sunday to protest, right, what they considered a rigged election and cast votes against Russian President Vladimir Putin? Wait. So, okay. These are Russians in Norway, and they have to vote in the Russian election, but they have to do that at the Russian embassy in Oslo. And these were votes against Russian President Vladimir Putin. So these are Russians in Norway that are anti Vladimir Putin. Okay. This is starting to make a lot more sense. I thought these were Russians in Norway protesting a Norwegian election. And I didn't understand that. This makes more sense. They were following the advice of Putin's only real opponent, Alexei Navalny, who died, whose death in custody last month is being blamed on Putin himself. These are Russians in Norway protesting the Russian government. Okay, so Norway is completely fine with this. Norway is probably encouraging this, actually. It's a line outside the Russian embassy in Oslo, was around the corner. Hundreds of Russian voters turned up noon to vote against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Wow. We're here as a protest against Putin. Oh, okay. So this is actually like Norway is probably supporting this, right? I thought this was so different. Okay. Okay. We're here to support Navalny. And I actually remember there was some news last week or the week before about Norway really making it known that Norway is really disapproving of what happened to Navalny. The Norwegian government has already called in the Russian ambassador in Norway to express its views on Navalny's death. Right. I remember hearing about that during another episode of this. Navalny and his widow Julia encouraged Russians to stand up against Putin and his war in Ukraine by turning out at precisely noon on Russia's election day. Oh, Russia's election day was a few days ago. I did not know that. So Navalny, before he died, he encouraged Russians to turn up at noon and vote against Putin. And that is exactly what these Russians are doing in Norway, even though Navalny passed away. Wow. Norwegian police maintain control outside the embassy. Here's Alexei Navalny, sort of memorial for him. Wow. Okay. Is there anything else on this? Russians lined up. What is this? A group of loud Ukrainian demonstrators expressed their disgust with Putin and Russia from across the street. So there were also Ukrainian protesters saying, "Stop killing Ukrainian children." They chanted in English and their own languages. Wow. Huh. Yeah, here's the Ukrainian protesters protesting the war. Wow. Okay. That is very interesting. That is not at all what I expected, but it's actually good. It's a good thing. It's actually a nice bit of news. Russians protesting the war, Ukrainians protesting the war, and all of it happening in Norway. This is not stuff that you ever hear about here in the United States. I had no idea. I didn't even hear about the Russian election a few days ago. So I'm actually really glad that I'm so thankful to get to learn a lot of stuff during this Norwegian news that I don't think I'd ever see any other way. Ministers in trouble get off easy. Oh boy. This is about Norwegian government officials. There's been quite a few scandals in Norwegian government. That's also something Americans don't hear about, but I've heard about it. And these Norwegian government officials are getting off easy? Two of Norway's government ministers who've been replaced have avoided punishment and are being rewarded with an ambassador post. What do Norwegians think about this? Are Norwegians opinionated on this or have thoughts on this? That Norway's government ministers, they have been fired, but then they're rewarded with a new job. So it's not even that bad. Foreign, uh, Former Foreign Minister Anniken Huitfeldt was confirmed as Norway's new ambassador to the U.S. That's right! I remember hearing about that, because it was Norway's ambassador to the U.S. is a disgraced Norwegian official who was fired and made ambassador to us, the U.S. What? While the former minister in charge of higher education was found guilty of plagiarizing her master's thesis, but faces no charges. There you go. There's no justice. No justice in the world. Wow. I've never heard of a student who's been treated so easily as Sandra Borch in this case of cheating. So there are Norwegians who are upset about this, but it feels like once you're in a position of power in the government, not a lot of bad things happen to you, even if you're caught red-handed, huh? Wow. Getting your master's thesis annulled is no legal punishment. So her master's thesis was annulled. At least there's that. She's been banned from all universities and colleges in Norway for a year, but was later acquitted. That made the ban invalid. Oh my gosh, so a lot of the things about her plagiarism, she was banned from Norwegian universities. That has been repealed. Wow. Huh. Wow. I have made mistakes and been careless, and I am taking the consequences for that. Are you? I don't know if there are any consequences. I guess she was fired from her position, but there's not much consequences. They're just given new positions. Okay. Interesting. Let's keep going here. Norway finally meeting NATO's goals. Oh, Norway is meeting NATO's goals. How so? I know there's a lot of NATO military exercises happening in Norway, right? A lot of military exercises? Does that have anything to do with this? Norwegian leaders will be able to hold their heads high at NATO's upcoming 75th anniversary meeting in a few weeks. Prime Minister Jonas Støre has announced a considerable strengthening of Norway's defense budget. Right, Norway's defense budget. This is again something I've been hearing about in the previous Norwegian news videos that I have done, where Norway is really increasing its military budget, increasing the Norwegian defense, and all those talks of World War III and all that scary stuff. Strengthening Norway's defense budget with enough funding to fulfill NATO's demand for 2% GNP. Oh, Norway is fulfilling a NATO minimum requirement? Okay. Støre met Thursday with his government's support parties and the leader of the other party delegations. His mission was to announce the government proposal that many more billions of kroner be added to the defense portion for the 2024 budget. Okay, interesting. Details will be released with the new long-term defense plan April 5th. Wow, I'm actually really curious what Norway's new supercharged, increased defense budget is going to look like, and how much Norway is ramping up its military and budget just because of all these military scares going on right now, right? Wow. Anything else here? Anything else? Many others agree Norway has the money to pour into defense. What do Norwegians think about this? Are Norwegians happy that Norway is reallocating the budget and adding a lot more budget to Norwegian military and defense? Are Norwegians happy about that? I would imagine so. It probably makes you feel safer. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe Norwegians are happy about this. It's been downright embarrassing that Norway has not met its own NATO defense goals already. This is kind of a long time coming. Norway increasing its defense. Denmark announced earlier this week it's mounting its own defense buildup to avoid war, but must be prepared for war given the serious situation. Yeah, so Denmark is just like what Norway's doing. Both countries are preparing to avoid war, or if war does happen, oh my god. Oil fund to the rescue, so this is all being funded by oil fund money. That's funny, because I know there's been a lot of protesting around Norway's oil as well, but it turns out Norway is using that money for a useful purpose, increasing the Norwegian defense. Wow, 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 wow. The war in Ukraine is an existential conflict between liberal democracy and dictatorship, between slavery and freedom. If Putin's Russia gets what it wants in Ukraine, there's a reason to expect other European countries will be next. Wow. Is this what Norwegians are afraid of? Again, I say this a lot. As Americans, we are so far away from this conflict. We feel so separated from Ukraine and Russia, and we feel very safe. We have a massive military and defense budget, like the biggest in the world. And even if it's overkill, it does make us feel safe, I suppose, and the fact that America is very far away. But Norway is very close. So that's a whole feeling that I can't even put myself in that position that Norway is in. I do hope Norway stays safe and protected, and that there is no increasing war. I think everyone hopes for that, right? Okay, so Norway has increased to meet NATO's defense goals. Okay. Women now lead all the party delegations in parliament. Women in Norway lead party delegations. What exactly would this mean? What are party delegations in parliament? What does that mean? Officials in the Norwegian parliament took what they called a historic photo last week on the occasion of International Women's Day, March 8th. International Women's Day. They'd suddenly realized all of the parliamentary delegations for the parties represented in parliament are now women. And here's the picture. Very nice. They realize it's actually perfect for International Women's Day that the parliamentary delegations for the parties, the representatives are all women. Very nice. Nice picture. I'm not exactly sure what party delegates are. I assume this is some part of the Norwegian government, some sort of representatives for different delegations. I'm not exactly sure, but it's all women that happen to be the representatives right now, which is very nice. Here we go. There are 10 parties in parliament this session. Majority of them are led by women. That's cool. Very cool. A historic, great experience. Yeah, and very appropriate with the International Women's Day actually being this month. Very appropriate indeed. Okay, that's a short little article. That's fun. Okay, very nice. What else do we have here, real quick? Former Justice Minister accused of racism and sexism. Oh my. Oh my God. Oh, right when you think the scandals have finally come to an end, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. What is this? This is a former justice minister. So not a current part of Norwegian government. But still, racism and sexism. This is still drama. The police he once supervised as justice minister. Oh, he was a justice minister. We don't really have a word for that here in America. This has to do with Norwegian police. He supervised the Norwegian police, and now he's being investigated on charges of racism and sexism against Per Willy Edmundsson of the Conservative Progress Party. Edmundsson remains a member of parliament, refused to answer questions. So charges of racism and sexism against this person, Per Willy Edmundsson. Really? He has chosen to exercise his right to not clarify his position to police. Is that like in America we have the right to remain silent? So he's not talking about this. Wow. This political storm around Edmundsson began last week. He published a series of highly offensive comments in social media. Wow. It began with references to how he's supporting Israel in the war against Hamas and bombing of Gaza, and degenerated into a rant about how, quote, the Arabs have a habit of killing people. Oh, man. So he's just doing some kind of stereotypical, overgeneralized rant that definitely has racist connotations to it. Wow. And he says, Islam as a whole gang of psychopaths and murder. Let's count all of you and send you out of Norway. Whoa. Wow. That is not okay. That is not. So he's literally talking to Islamic people living in Norway, which I think there are quite a few. And he's basically telling them to get out. We don't want you anymore. And that you're murderers and psychopaths. Oh my God. Oh my God. And he wrote this all publicly on Twitter or something. He wrote this on social media. Oh my God. He wrote that any Islamics who dared to comment on it is on Facebook. Any Islamics who dared comment on his Facebook page can go to hell. I will do whatever I can to send you home to your homeland. Wow. Then he went to target women on International Women's Day. Oh, congratulations to all boring women who want to hold men back. Okay, so these are obviously very, very mean comments. It went from bad to worse. These are very bad comments, but is it against the law in Norway to say racist and sexist things? Because in America, it mostly you can say whatever you want here in America. You have the freedom of speech. You can say anything you want, and you're not going to be arrested. It's not against the law. Everyone is just going to hate you and think you're an idiot. In Norway, what is the law? Is he breaking a law? Because he is being investigated on charges of racism and sexism. So in Norway, he might have done something that's against the law. I don't know. 4 people and organizations filed charges, and the police launched a probe. We want to see whether any laws have been broken. Whether the comments are incite hatred, which is punishable by law. If the comments incite hatred, that makes them against the law. Interesting. I don't know anything about Norwegian speech laws, but this would be completely legal in America, I think. And they're just making sure. So if he broke the law, that's very bad. If he didn't break the law, this is very bad. This is horrible, horrible, horrible things to say. God, this is not something we heard about here in the United States. That's terrible to hear about. Not something that I really associate with Norway, really. Hate speech. I view Norway as very progressive and open-minded, but I guess even still, there's always those bad eggs, bad individuals. Okay, I think that's pretty good for today. Oh my gosh, a lot of political news today in Norway, but is fascinating. Some good, protesting Russia. Some a lot bad. Ministers getting off easy. Norway increasing its defense. That's good. Women, International Women's Day. It's good. And then racism and sexism bad. Kind of a mix of both. But I'm very happy to be more up to date about what's going on in Norway, especially Norwegian politics, actually. That was kind of the theme for today. But it was fascinating. And it was interesting. And I'm good to be caught up for this week. So if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this news here today. Or if there's any news that I didn't get to that you think I should know about, that'd be great to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.